Hi, this is Comfortable Shoes Studio, and this is another episode of Art Making. I'm Les, and in this episode, I am showing you a couple of different materials and doing similar subjects. So I am drawing faces, sort of cartoony faces from my own imagination using three different materials. So this first clip is me using a fountain pen with a fude nib, and you can see here in the initial start. My nib's a little dry. It's been sitting around for a hot minute, and it takes a minute for the ink to start flowing really well. So I am using kind of a combination of continuous line, just kind of finding where things are in the faces. Um, and with the fude nib, what's really cool about it is that nib is bent and allows me to get some really fine lines. And then when I tip it at different angles, it can get really fat, thick lines. Um, and that's really great for cartoony drawings like this. It feels like a brush, kind of looks like a brush, and lets me get some dark areas into the drawing. Um, and pretty quickly too, because that where it is at its widest, it puts down a really thick line of ink. Really, really love this pen for this kind of sketching, sort of just like off the cuff little like doodly faces that could be cartoony, kind of sticking to masculine faces and kind of just pulling from my years of drawing portraits for ideas for nose shapes, eyebrow shapes, and eyes. Um, and just pulling that in here where the folds in the face are, the wrinkles in the face are, jawline, and all of that. And some of it gets pretty fantastical here. But yeah, you see there, I just really layered in a nice thick line. Um, Allows you to really get some contrast in there. And for this page, I'm just doodling. So I'm letting these little images overlap one another, so that one head is growing out of the other guy's bald head. Um, I don't know. These are fun little practice images just to warm up my hand and my brain for sketching later. And in this sketch session, which took about 35 minutes, and I've sped it up to what, 18 minutes? Um, so yeah, this was a slightly over 30-minute sketch session. Just kind of playing around with the materials just to see what the different feelings are from different materials. Really wanted to kind of explore that because I was noticing that in my last video that all of those different materials for drawing that one person really sort of just gave each image a different feeling. And I was drawing the same person and sometimes even using the same Uniball bold gel pen for the drawing on top. Um, the different materials I used underneath really gave a different feeling. So, really trying to explore that purposefully here in these drawings. And also like varying face shape, like that last face is really long with a long chin and nose. um I'm doing a cartoonify yourself thing with the kids, and I was thinking about that in terms of like art journaling and telling stories. This sort of exercise could really be used to kind of explore how do you give a character different feelings, like what are your mental shortcuts for like a bad guy or a good guy, and how do you show that with something simple like pen and ink in black and white? So like if you look at some of these faces, like I think that top right image of the long face dude uh really is a little like dark, like that could be my bad guy, right? So yeah, so that's the fude nib. Oh yeah, I decided to give that guy a little hair. So in this section, I'm going to use three different sizes of Uniball 207 gel pen, black ink. I'm going to use the micro, which is a .038, point 0.38 tip. So really fine, really scratchy. It has a tendency to skip a little bit here and there. It's a little rougher on the page than the medium, which is a 0.7, and then the bold is a 1.0. So I just do this face with the micro, use a lot of scribbly lines to kind of find the lines in the face. Now I've switched over to the medium tip, and you can see already that this one flows and smooths, so goes over the paper much more smoothly. I'm trying to do, another fantastical face from imagination, but similar to the last one. So you can see just the lines are darker, places where I overlap, it's darker, and you just get a little more tonal variation here in how this pen is able to capture light and dark. So I decided that I don't like that jawline, so I'm going to flesh it out, and I was going to just darken it, and I was like, no, this dude needs a beard. So like this one of the like tricks that you can do if you decide that like when you're drawing a face and the jawline doesn't come out quite where you want it to be, you add a beard. And so here I'm going in with the bold pen, and I feel like with the bold pen, it's so smooth that I can be really deliberate with my lines and get some really dark darks very easily. And then, like, cross hatching is easier with this pen. What I do find with this pen is that I need to work a little bigger to kind of make up for that enormous tip size. But I think what is best with these particular pens is that because the ink is the same from pen to pen, the color matches, and that means that I can use them all in the same image, and I'm not going to get any tonal variation between pen to pen. So I can start with the micro tip and find those lines. I can make all those scratchy, super thin lines um, that I kind of enjoy with a pen like this. Like you, like those, I don't know, there's something about the scratchy fine lines and finding where things are that I enjoy about this super fine pen. And I'm working kind of unrealistically. Things are a little wonky. I'm letting them be wonky. I'm coming back in. This is the medium tip. I'm layering it up because I want some line variation in these images. And like I said, having these three different tip sizes really means I can get that in there. Now, sometimes I find when I'm working with gel pen, my line work can look kind of flat and boring, and a little lifeless, particularly when you're working in that, zero point 0.7 tip. It can get really just boring. So here I am coming in with the 1 millimeter tip, and you can see like it's filling in the lines a lot faster. I'm able to really make those darks darker with just a few strokes of this pen. It just lays down an enormous amount of ink, and it looks really good on the page. Yeah, I really like the combination of the 3 for building an image, and I think that it lends itself like, the good thing about the 207 is that you can really get the, micro, medium, and bold tip, um, just about anywhere. And the micro I think is a little harder to find. I ordered them on Amazon. I've seen them ordered from Staples before. I keep a box of these at work all of the time, and I buy them for myself frequently. And the great thing about the 207 is that if I wanted to come in here and watercolor over the top of these images, I could absolutely really easily add watercolor to it once all of the ink is dry. I have noticed, particularly with the bold, because it dumps out so much ink onto the page, that it does have a tendency to lift. And that's pretty typical for many ink pens where um, the ink reacts with the fibers of the paper. And that's what the 207 does um, because it is water resistant, it's fraud resistant, um, and it bonds with the fibers of the paper so it can't be removed. Now, the ink actually has to make connection with the paper itself for that to happen. And in many cases, when I am sketching with that big bold line, um, it doesn't actually make contact with the paper because the ink is sitting on top of ink and on top of ink and on top of ink. So it will lift if I, go a little too bold and a little too heavy with that ink. But here again, you can see that the 3 different pens really work well together. The colors match. Um, yeah, that's it. Just looks good. Um, so I'm using a couple of the pens to build up some cross hatching. Um, you see in this face, it's a little like the side on the left is a little turned out. It should be smaller to match the right-hand side. But anyway, this is an imagination portrait, so it doesn't matter so much. You can be a little wonky. All right, so for this one, I'm using pretty standard Blackwing pencils. I'm not sure which this is the 93, and I don't remember what softness it is. I want to say it's the matte or their softest pencil, but I don't actually remember. So I'm just doing the same similar things that I did with the last ones, but with pencil. And you can really see how it really changes the uh, tone of the piece. And I erase, which I don't usually do for these sorts of images. Yeah, so just really blocking things in here and just working loose to keep this going. And if you wanted to do a similar exercise to this, you could use colored pencils. You could use ballpoint pen. Like pick like 3 of your favorite materials, and then try adding or doing similar vein of faces to see what happens. Um, I think oh no, I gave this guy a comb over. Yeah, so you can kind of play around with like making blockier heads, emphasizing the comb over. This guy is definitely a bad dude. Something about the comb over always implies bad guy to me. Um, yeah, so just again, the great thing about a soft dark pencil is that you can really use that flattened out edge of the pencil to block in darks. I really appreciate that about pencil, and it makes it nice to like shade really easily. And I'm not doing like typical shading here, I'm cross hatching. instead of, what pencil really lends itself to, which is sort of like a soft blended shading. Uh, and I'm leaving things incomplete. I'm not stressing over this being perfect, or looking right or any of that stuff. I'm just keeping it super simple, trying to do similar things that I've done on the other 4 pages so far. And just again, trying to match that aesthetic vibe that I was getting from those other pages. So I'm trying to like this dude, I'm trying to make look kind of like angry. So his mouth is set flat, his eyebrows are arched up. Um, Gave him a beanie. Um, yeah, so just like thinking about like those cartooning things that I've been doing with the kids, trying to devise some exercises for exploring like what's the bad guy in your story look like, what's the good guys look like in your story. Um, and how do we use shorthand for that? Um, yeah, so I've been having fun with this, just kind of playing with different materials, exploring a bunch of different things. Um, and yeah, I just enjoy these sorts of like exercises that are about like exploring things from my imagination. I'm really working hard to draw a little bit more from my imagination, kind of recapture one of the reasons I fell in love with art in the first place, which is that imaginative drawing and exploration. Not just drawing from life. I love drawing from life, but I've really felt like this sort of exploration of imagination has been missing. So I'm getting into those like faces from my imagination again, and just using shorthand and remembering all of the lessons I've learned about faces over the years. All right. So, anyway, I really appreciate you being here and watching my video. If you made it the whole way to the end, how about you hit that subscribe button? I hate asking, but I'm going to ask you to. If you enjoyed the video, you found some value in it, hit that thumbs up button. If you really enjoyed this video, you can head over to my Ko-fi page. Link is down in the description, and show me some support there, or continue to read about art and art making. I do a lot of posts about creativity, and many of them are for everyone, not just my supporters. So, anyway, thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.